borrowed 20,000 crores. So they give a bond for 10 years at certain yield interest rate. And that bond goes through RBI and some private sector buys it, and that cash goes through the government. So these bonds are lying with the private sector. So RBI can actually buy these bonds to release cash into the, to increase liquidity. But if they keep printing new money, I just go back to the point of repo. So if they keep printing money, new money, so they have to print new money whenever they do repo, which means they buy bonds. And for inflows, the amount of cash in the system will increase, which will increase the inflation. So inflation will increase if there's too much money, too much rupees in the ecosystem, and the productivity and output are not going up. So amount of rupees can only increase if the productivity and output are going up. So when FDI is coming in, unless that FDI leads to increased productivity and output, that means FDI is really going into a semiconductor fab in India and chips are made in India, which doesn't happen, we know. Most of the time FDI doesn't go into productive sectors in India. So then what happens? RBI is forced to essentially take money from the system, rupees, and give it to the person who is, or the FDI, the companies that are bringing in dollars into India. So when FDI comes in, rupees go out of the system to companies that are bringing in FDI or FII or FPI, and that money goes into buying of assets most of the time. So they go into stock markets, they go into lending for housing sector or lending for real estate, commercial real estate. And so where 1 rupee goes, 10 more rupees go. That's how things work. So the entire credit starts pushing upwards towards the dense credit zone. So there is more credit available here. So we'll see that there is an area created which is the sparse credit zone. Today in India, if we see, the sparse credit zone is where our SMBs are, small and medium businesses, and the innovative SMBs. Because innovative SMBs, they're not, to begin with, they're not funded by the banks, because they'll show 3 years of loss. See, you can't have an R&D company show profits. If it shows profits, something is wrong, unless they have a product that has gone into the market and it has been successful. So essentially what is happening in India is there is this money pump created, and this money pump is created. In return, India is getting foreign currency reserves, foreign exchange reserves. These reserves are not sitting with RBI. RBI gives it back. For example, if India has $350 billion, today it is about $487 billion, out of which let's say $350 billion is actually dollars, not yen or euro. These dollars are given back to the US government actually. RBI buys US bonds. So RBI is actually lending to the US government at 0%. Today the US interest rates are 0 to 0.25%, which means the interest rate at which RBI lends to the US government in dollars is now at 0 to 0.25%. And the US government, we have seen in the last 4 months, when the coronavirus has hit, there is almost like $4 trillion in extra spending in US from printed money, just printing money and spending it, right? And that money partly is funded by RBI. India is funding the US spending at 0% interest. Whereas these inflows which are coming in, so somebody, for example, had purchased a company shares in India for 10 rupees and it has gone to 1,000 rupees. So they are making a huge amount of profits. Same thing with startups. They are investing in startups, and most of the startups that are getting invested out of these FDI inflows are actually sales channels. They are not producers. When we look at the kind of companies in India that get funded, startups, they are all sales channels, right? Somebody who delivers goods to the house, somebody that stocks goods, somebody that is importing goods and selling them in India. They are the ones that get funded, because most of these inflows are concerted. They are orchestrated across the world. So some companies producing in China or US or Europe, to sell their products in India, there are channels, and those channels are funded. So what is happening is, because of this RBI's current foreign exchange rate management policy and the inflation targeting policy, that means RBI ensures that inflation doesn't rise. This is something they have been doing for the last 8-9 years very aggressively. This is one of the things that were introduced by Dr. Raghuram Rajan, and there was an RBI Act. There is a monetary policy committee. So So because of this, what happens? These foreign currency reserves are essentially funding foreign firms, foreign governments, who will then invest in India at, so RBI gets 0% return and they get 30% return, 40% return from what they invest in India. Not only that, because they're investing in, areas which are essentially assets, not productive, our money flows in the system are moving there, and this is a major problem for India, because we are not talking about individual firm here. We are not talking about individual sector. This impacts every sector in India. So Indian economy slowly becomes like a mining economy. We can mine goods. We can do things like, there is a person who is from IIT Kanpur, graduated, a brilliant Indian engineer. That person will end up working for an MNC and create value for the MNC, not value for the Indian economy. And this is a fundamental flaw which is there in the RBI monetary policy, which comes out of fear. See, RBI is afraid that we'll run out of dollars. But that fear is taken advantage of by the global forces, which ensures that RBI, we will forever be in that fear. The only way to, so Atmanirbhar Bharat is kind of a very good way of framing the call for, changing that. But basically, this macroeconomic policy needs to change. And we have given from IGES, some suggestions also. But this is a very delicate thing, because this has gone on now for 3 decades, from 1991 till 2020. So the Indian economy is literally sinking. It's like having a hole in a ship and nobody is attending to that hole. Our productivity is getting transferred globally. Our output is getting transferred globally. And in return, we are getting, what is FDI? People are owning more and more of India. India is not the only country where this is happening. There are many other countries. Of course, we are worried about India, obviously, as Indians. And so this is, in one slide, we try to say, what RBI is doing. They have a separate capital account. They have a current account. And here is something interesting. When Dr. Raghuram Rajan was the RBI governor, he did something very interesting. He said, RBI should borrow. This reverse repo means RBI is borrowing money. The rate at which RBI will borrow will be 0.25% below the rate at which it will lend, which is the repo. That means if a bank is paying 3% interest on savings account to its deposit holders, they would get, until a few months ago, they would get 6% from RBI. So bank can just take for 3% from the depositors, at 6% give it to RBI. And RBI will give it to whoever is bringing in FDI, and the repo rate was only at 6.25%. If somebody has to borrow from RBI, the rate was 6.25%. So IGES has been, saying this to RBI forever, many years now, that this repo, reverse repo, this spread, RRR spread, that means money at that RBI interest that RBI pays to the market versus RBI lends at, this spread, it was called as narrow monetary policy corridor. Okay, this narrow monetary policy corridor should be widened. And to our big surprise, we were saying this repeatedly to RBI. Just about 1.5 months ago, RBI started widening this monetary policy corridor, which is quite amazing, because the kind of language they were using was every time interest rates are cut, the cut rate is repo. So repo rate is cut from 6% to 5.75%. Consequently, reverse repo rate is cut from 5.75% to 5.5%. So they were saying as though the reverse repo rate is automatically cut every time repo is cut. They are different, not different from each other. But now the repo reverse repo spread has been widened in the last 3 months, which means the money available here to go into a reverse repo and help these forex inflows into India, it becomes a little more difficult for RBI to borrow money to buy dollars. Little more difficult, just about 0.5%. So they may have to print new money, but it is just a little more difficult. It needs to be a lot more difficult. That means the repo reverse repo difference. That means the amount of interest RBI pays banks on a reverse repo versus banks have to pay RBI on a repo rate. This has to widen. And RBI's balance sheet, which means what is the assets RBI holds, instead of dominated by foreign currency reserves, this must have increasing level of Indian assets. So currently RBI's balance sheet is entirely formed of foreign currency reserves and some amount of government bonds, which is something like 36 trillion rupees foreign currency reserves, 36 trillion, and 14 trillion rupees in government bonds. RBI has lent more to US government than to Indian government at this point in time, much more. Okay, and some of these assets must be more like SMBs loans. So RBI should start buying securities which are SMB loans. That will drive credit to SMBs in India. See, innovation will not start in a large firm. This everybody knows, right? Innovation is always by small companies. They want to do some breakthrough, and if they can't grow, then the economy is losing. So we need to have this policy changes. Some changes have already been done by RBI, but currently this money pump is very active still. Just imagine, I'm not against Reliance or anything, but imagine today there are thousands of SMBs and innovative SMBs which are struggling to get 50 lakh rupee loan from or 20 lakh rupee loan from banks in India against assets. They give security to the bank and say, please give me money. And they are not getting the credit from Indian banks. The situation is really bad. It is recently we heard about how finance minister said we should give credit to SMBs even without security, right? Government will offer security. But even with security, the banks are not lending because they're afraid and they happily give money to the RBI at the reverse repo rate. So today, if you look at the RBI's balance sheet, this report is published every week. It's called a reserve money report. RBI website is there. The net lending is actually banks have lent to RBI. RBI has not lent to banks. No, RBI has about 5-6 lakh crore rupees of bank money with it. Banks do not, especially public sector banks, they do not want to lend. They have suffered a lot, they have pain, so they'll say, okay, we'll take it easy and give the money to RBI. And much of that then goes into capital inflows. So this situation has to change. Otherwise, we'll see rupee weakening every month, every 2 months. And our estimates, IRIS estimates now put that India will see close to 30% contraction of our economy in the next 12 to 18 months. Already we are on track for 15% already, annual. And a 30% contraction in economy. See, it's good to be positive. We all should be positive, okay? But we also need to know where the ship has a hole and where the water is coming in and plug the leaks. Not plug the leaks, rather plug the holes. Otherwise, the ship is going to sink. When the ship sinks, it doesn't matter whether 5 people are doing well and 995 people are doing, really bad. The important thing is this hole has to be fixed. And together, if the fiscal policy is aligned towards advanced technology promotion and the monetary policy is aligned towards creating credit for Indian enterprise, of course, Indian consumers, they get credit already. Then we will see that Indian economy can actually grow at 15%, 18% a year for the foreseeable future. We feel that by 2030, India can be a $12 trillion economy, which means in purchase parity, purchase power parity terms, India could be bigger than US economy by 2030 in just 10 years. So India has huge opportunity ahead of it. We have some really nice companies, as Mr. Prasad Mantri has mentioned, who survive even in these difficult times. But it is important that we should not say only Einstein survives, right? We need a good innovative company should survive in India. We need many more, thousands, tens of thousands of innovative companies, small companies. And I like what Shri Prushti says always: the blacksmith becomes the robo maker. We need innovation. Going into rural areas, not as consumption, not as use of 5G, not as use of 4G, but we have rural areas creating robots, rural areas creating these drones, rural areas creating, electric vehicles. And for that to happen, we need tens of thousands of innovative firms in India. And these macro innovation challenges, these headwinds have to be converted into tailwinds, which means we need both fiscal policy reforms, RBI reform, we need monetary policy reforms, RBI reforms are required. RBI policies should not be